Mic check. All right. That looks like it's working. Is the mic working? Let's see. Okay, mic's working. Cool. All right. Sorry for coughing in your ears. Did not intentionally do that. All right. Just got to put my camera in place. Oh, that stupid camera. I always forget. Every time I start my stream, I have to reset the face tracking on my camera. Hey Laura, welcome. That's funny. It's tracking the the painting face. That's funny. Every time I go to stream, I have to reset that camera because something in the face, like it just gets all messed up if I don't. Oh no, is it going to have a hard time telling differentiating between me and me? Right, let's see. Wait. Yeah. Is it going to have a hard time? Yes, it is. That's funny. All right. I organized my room the other day because I tried to film something for YouTube and I wanted to have a more presentable workspace. Camera, stop that. Like I like it tracking, but I don't want it to be that close on my face. Come on. Yeah, so my room's an absolute disaster because instead of actually cleaning my room, I just kind of shoved everything aside. You know, like you do. By the way, Des, and for anyone who's listening and is curious what I'm talking about, Des is a painter, and Des has posted some things on the Discord, and really nice work. Um, really, actually a tough painting to do. Um, I think you did a really great job on it. The Des painted what's it called? Red cabbage, a cut red cabbage, which is important because all those little like interior parts of the cabbage, that's a lot of work. That's a pain in the butt. Uh, I think he handled it quite well, actually. So yeah, we now have a what's it called? We now have a oh, my brain is not working. A feedback corner in the Discord. It's designed to be just feedback from me, just because I don't want, like, that's something I can moderate versus if, everybody's just giving feedback and so on. But yeah. What's it called? The cut slice was wiped a few times. You painted it lighter purple, then wiped it out, painted it white, then scraped designs into it, but it didn't look right. Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a challenging aspect of the painting. I think it would be, yeah, I can see it being pretty challenging. I don't know what I was, oh, like, why am I reaching? I literally forgot what I was doing halfway through, and I'm like, why am I reached over like this? Okay. Um, so yeah. If you want feedback, I'm happy. Like I said, post in the feedback corner. If you don't mind me talking about it in general here, I'm not going to show it on screen for numerous reasons. Not anything to do with you, just technical stuff. But I can talk in generalizations about doing something like that. So I'm happy to do that as well. Yeah, because I don't mind it. I don't mind that. My neck is not happy. I think I need new gloves. These ones have been around for quite a while. Let's get some new ones out here. Um, but yeah, I'll talk about the painting in general. Like how I would approach some of those aspects of the painting. Um, this isn't an understand that when I'm talking about, like, oh, this is how I would approach it, it doesn't mean anything regarding your painting. It's not a criticism or feedback specifically. This is just like my mental state. If I were doing this type of, this type of painting, how would I approach it, kind of thing. You need to use gloves. You get too much paint on your hands, especially when you have to deal with the dogs. Yeah, I hate wearing gloves. I really do. But the reason I wear gloves when I paint is so that I have clean hands instantaneously. I've talked about it before. That's why. Oh, before I start painting, before I start talking painting, before everything, let's start the night out with a cat. Let's start the night out with a cat. I will be right back getting the cat right now. Not Dresden. Oh, it's a little Misu. And she's wearing a little jacket. Look at her. Hold on. Let's get this down a little. Look at the little girl. Oh, she's got a little hoodie on. She um, she actually doesn't mind it at all. I think, in fact, she sometimes feels a little better with the clothes on. Most cats don't, but it's a security thing. These is one of those that's designed to be kind of um, hugging, I guess, and it makes them feel more secure. She is angry, and she's going to let me know she's angry. Yeah, what's that, little girl? I woke her up. She wakes me up all the time, so I don't know if you can hear her growling at me. She's so angry. She won't do anything though. She's just a complainer. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Shh. Don't complain. She's so angry. But she won't scratch or anything like that. She's not. She's just a complainer. Nice Torty. Yeah. And she's very vocal about her complaints, but she's also very very gentle and sweet until she goes crazy as our defense cat. Because she's also a guard kitty. I don't know if you could hear her growls or not. Well, not growls, whines maybe. I don't know how you wanted to categorize it. Whatever. All right. So, when doing intricate detail on things, um, I generally speaking try to avoid doing intricate detail on things. um, I prefer to try and imply it rather than have to actually do it, if possible, whenever possible. You did pick a very hard, like straightforward painting where it's very hard to get around that. But that's the first thing when I paint. If I'm painting a cabbage, a sliced cabbage, that would be first thing in my head, is to kind of do as little as possible and imply as much as possible. Um, I also am happy to use painting. We'll call them, for lack of a better word, we'll call them painting tricks to kind of get around some of that. Uh, you know, where it's like, painting smudges, using the brayer to like move paint over, the abstract stuff, all that stuff. More than happy to use all that stuff to get around painting all those details. Let's see if my painting's wet. It is. Damn it! It's not wet, but it's not dry, unfortunately. So I can't oil out. Okay. Oh well. So yeah, so that's first of all when I paint stuff like that, that's my feeling on it. Um, I did a painting of a cake slice. I don't know if I have it accessible right now, but I did do a painting of a slice of cake, and once again, I tried to imply the certain aspects of things, but not actually go in there and detail everything up, because it's so much work, and it's, you know, it's just it really is. It's just so much extra work. Um, and then what else? Can I think of? Hold on a second. All right. Let's get to the painting though. Hi, Misu. She got mad at me for picking her up, and now she's like on the floor at my feet wanting attention. So yeah. And then the structure of the what's it called? So the cut cabbage, right? There's a few ways you can go about it, right? Obviously you can, paint dark to light. So you put down your dark colors and then you go in and you paint in your lights. I probably would have gone average, like kind of a mid-tone color. And then I would have gone in with the darks and put in like the bigger areas and then gone in with the lights and then used those lights to carve out the areas the detailed areas as well. Kind of something like that. And then there would be a bunch of back and forth, of course. But yeah, it's not easy. There's a lot of detail in that. The other thing too is, like I said, I might have tried to imply um, detail, and the way of doing that, and of course it depends on the actual reference. I'd have to see it, but if you put down an average color and then you go in and you put in like darks and lights and you move it around, it can imply like there's more there than you're actually painting, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm Misu. All right. Apparently my some of my palette dried. That's unfortunate. All right. Hi, little girl. All right. So how can okay. There we go. I just didn't want to cough into the mic. Multiple attempts at the cut face. Tried several different things. Finally looks okay. You did a good job with the painting. And it is a very challenging thing to paint. So yeah, absolutely. So this is a keyed painting, by the way. I'm going to talk about my painting for a second. It is a keyed painting. That's the exercise, and I'm doing two separate keys on this. I'm doing a high key painting, which is everything but the main figure, who's going to be low key painted, and we'll see how well that all comes out. It's a very challenging attempt or premise. And the challenging part is not so much doing it, right? Because I feel like anyone can kind of, like, if you can paint a high key and you can paint a low key, then doing this isn't actually going to be that hard. Or not that much harder in general. But I think the challenge is going to be trying to make the two look like they belong together, even though that they are going to be very much separated. So that's going to be the big challenge in my mind. And I might not be able to pull it off, in the sense that they may never look like they truly belong. But I'm going to try and merge them in such a way that even if they don't look like they like really belong in the same space, they at least hopefully feel like they belong in the same painting. That's the goal. So it's not what's it called? They're not going to be single tones. Like the lights are going to have a range. It's just a very, very tight range. Same with the darks. There is a range. It's not going to be all one single tone. But you know, it's still challenging because I want to keep it as tight as I can. So I'm only going to expand the color range kind of as needed as I go through it. Not the color range, value range, sorry. Yeah. So last night I tried to film something for YouTube. So like I said, I moved everything around. This wasn't a painting. This was talking head type of thing. So I moved everything around. I used my phone because my phone has a better camera than this guy right here. Although I did use that as well. And I have a ton of notes. I literally have a huge document, well, not huge, but I have a document with like a bunch of notes and timestamps to discuss this subject. And it's a subject that I'm actually pretty familiar with in general and can talk about pretty easily. I go to film and it was a disaster. It just, yeah, did not work out at all. Like at all. It was so bad. I spent over 40 minutes, I think it was close to an hour, just recording, not including like the prep time and everything. It did not go well. In fact, my cell phone even overheated halfway through. Yeah, just everything about it went poorly. So I'm gonna have to see. I'm gonna try and figure out a different way of doing it. Uh, yeah, oh geez, yeah. So I'm dyslexic, or I have a variation of dyslexia, whatever. Just for ease of conversation, I just say I'm dyslexic. And so reading is difficult for me. It's not like I can't read, just I'm slow. It's very mentally taxing, so it exhausts me. And yeah, it's just, it's challenging. Same with writing. But writing is extra challenging because I don't know what the terms for any of this stuff is, but there's something that happens in our brain when we go to write things, when we go to express ourselves, both verbally and the written form. You have a thought, and then your brain has to kind of translate your thoughts into, words that, are appropriate to the medium that you're using, right? Something in that like translation, in that whatever that is, just kills my brain, makes it so hard to express myself, especially when it's written. And doing the script isn't like talking, it's just Like this feels like a conversation, which I have a much easier time with. I also struggle with conversations sometimes, but this is at least easier. But yeah, it just did not go well. It was very, very frustrating. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I really want to put out this video, but I don't know quite how to approach it yet. I might do a stream, um, like a talking head stream where I just, talk to chat if anyone's there. Although I do wonder if I'm going to have as much of a hard time talking when I'm not painting. So I don't know. We'll see. But I might start doing streams. I might start like adding a section of the stream where I just talk about something so that I at least get the audio. Like, cause I can grab the audio from this, but because I'm painting, uh, it's a little disjointed and drawn out. Like, I know that sometimes I drag my words out as I'm waiting for my brain to buffer because I'm also painting at the same time. And like, I can only do so much at once, kind of thing. Yeah. So, so yeah, I don't know. But I really do want to put together some actual shorts and videos. So, because I've actually been getting a a ton for me, relatively speaking, not much at all, but for me, a ton more viewers recently. So it'd be good to have a little more content that isn't just the live streams, because I know it's hard to like for some people to watch live streams 3 hours. It's not conducive. But yeah, it's exciting. I've been getting a lot more viewers lately. Like I said, for me. But that's exciting. So I have horrible mixing etiquette, by the way. Anyone watching this and is like, "Oh, no, I do not recommend mm, like keeping your palette the way I do. Like I said, I have horrible etiquette in this area. Like I do things the wrong way. Like I shouldn't be mixing my white into a big puddle like this in the middle because it's just going to like get dark and get muddy faster. It's not good. It's not a good way of doing it. My palette becomes an abstract mess. Well, yes, every palette's going to become a mess if you're like actually using it. I think. I suspect. But there are ways that you can be more structured about it and um, you know, do things that will make it make it easier for yourself, like mixing out instead of in when you're like adding color. Having zones like where it goes uh you know from light to dark, dark, and so on. So it's all kind of like those zones make it easy. So it's like, top is light, bottom's dark. So anytime you add darker colors, you mix down. Anytime you have lighter colors, you mix up. Cool and warm, you can also do that. All of those things can make your life easier. Just like using multiple brushes can really make your life easier. Like multiple brushes for um, different colors and also different what's the word I'm looking for? Temperatures and so on. All those things can be very helpful for when you're painting. Uh, I do none of it. And I pay for that with usually extra paint. Like I end up wasting a lot of paint to compensate for that. So, technically speaking, it's definitely a waste. Part of it's just straight up bad habits. Like, you know, when you start anything, you don't always do everything correctly. And then by the time you know what the correct thing to do is, you have bad habits and it's much harder to change. That's part of it. So obviously don't make the bad habits to begin with. Makes your life a lot easier. Other thing too though is, our brains work differently and um our perception and everything. So there might be some things that don't work for you, but give it a shot at least. Because I did try to do the like multiple brush thing, and paint like I'm Wolverine, just have a fist full of brushes that are all, but yeah, didn't work for me. I kept getting them mixed up and they'd all just end up averaging out eventually, which completely defeats the purpose, clearly. That's one thing I thought about buying one of those palettes. What are they called? Um, oh, what are they called? It's the palettes that you hold in your hand. I can't remember what they're called right now. My brain's struggling. Um, I thought about buying one of those. I have one. It's just a total crap one. Thought about buying a nice one. And I think it would not, so I don't think it'd be useful for these paintings, but if I did anything larger than this, it would be very beneficial, I think. I can't remember what they're called right now. I can't believe my brain's not working like that. Um, anyways, but I don't know how I would deal with like holding the paint like that, like holding the palette like that and painting. Yeah, I don't know. For numerous reasons. One, my light, the one of the I should mention this. One of the reasons I have my palette like this right next to my painting is this way they both get the exact same light. And so all my paints look identical here and here. No question about it. Like no light shifts, nothing, the same. You have a few of the plastic acrylic ones, but You're using the glass palette out of a broken microwave. It works well. Yeah. So the only reason I would want one of those handheld palettes, I need, excuse me for a second. Um, is because when you start getting into larger paintings, having it is beneficial. Because wherever you move, your paint's with you. So you don't want to have to like, paint and then like take a few steps over to mix a color and back and forth, that type of thing. Yeah. So that's why I would want one. Otherwise, I do not want one. In fact, I don't even want one when I do that. I just think it might be beneficial. There's other ways of dealing with it, right? Like theoretically, I could put my palette on a table next to me and move the table around as I go, and then it's always next to me. That's also an option. You don't have to do the handheld thing. So it's not a guarantee, but I can see benefits to it for sure. Also, it's worth mentioning that um, because I won that competition, I do have gift card money, a little bit left, and what's it called? Jerry's Artorama has the new wave, uh, you know, palette. Um, so it's like, well, I probably wouldn't buy it otherwise, so maybe I should, kind of thing. Okay, this is a horrible soundtrack. Not soundtrack. Playlist. Next. But yeah, I tried to obviously I bought things I needed with the winnings from that competition. Um, but I also I tried to kind of buy things that I would want and wouldn't purchase otherwise, you know? Um, little kind of like a little treat to myself, although I could not bring myself to buy uh premium paint. It was just too expensive. I tried. I looked at it. And I was just like, yeah, I can't do this. I cannot spend $200 on a tube of paint. So I didn't. Yeah. But then I also try and buy things that like are going to be very useful, but I normally wouldn't, spend the money on, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but yeah. Overall, I think I've been pretty good about uh called not wasting the gift card and, you know, doing good purchases with it. I've made some stupid purchases, but nothing huge. I bought a brush rack that I thought was going to be very helpful for like holding up my brushes, and it does hold up my brushes, but it's not very helpful. That was a waste of money, but whatever. It's like one of those things where it's like it functions as advertised. I just for some reason thought it would be helpful and it's not. Maybe at some point I'll give it to someone, you know. Might be more useful for like a what's it called? Um a watercolor artist. That's the word I was thinking. Oh, we'll see. So trying to keep everything in this very high key is if you've ever if you've ever if you ever want to paint a high key painting or give it a shot, first of all, high key, low key, whatever. I think it's great. I think it's a great exercise. Having said that, they are very challenging. And what ends up happening is even though I have these very, very saturated colors to work with, you quickly run out of options because um, how can I put this? When you're working with um, whatever color, whatever hue you're working with, uh, if you're trying to keep the value range very, very tight, the that hue loses options real fast. For instance, blue, right? Like if if I want to have a light blue, well, I can have a like a turquoise light blue or a, you know, because it's so light, I can't go as much violet or purple. It's more, you know, baby blue kind of thing. Um, and obviously I can have purple, but uh, it stops being blue real fast. Um, and then because of that range, you're very limited in how saturated you can push the color. You can always go gray, but you can't go, you know, you can't go very saturated. To our eyes, it looks like it's bright because we associate like light and saturation with brightness, but the saturation just isn't there. That's why it falls into like the pastels, right? Um, and so you very quickly realize that you're running out of room in the in or not room options. So it is very challenging. But like I said, I do think it's very fun. Um, and I do enjoy it. I also really love the single value paintings. Those are even more challenging. Oh my God, they're so much fun. The end result is so cool. You literally create a painting that is almost hard. It's hard to see and hard to look at, which seems like a bad combination, but it's really cool. The digital versions of it just do not do it justice, I think, for sure, in that instance. Going to put the dogs to bed and get a snack back in a few minutes. Oh, no worries, Des. Good luck with the dogs. Yeah, my painting right now is in, so when painting with oils, oils don't dry. They technically they set or they cure, I think is technically the term. Anyways, it's a chemical response to oxygen. They oxidize. Um, and they become kind of tacky as they dry, for lack of a better term. As they dry, they become tacky and and then they dry. So tacky is kind of the middle in oil painting to actually dry, like to the core. Uh, but um, but yeah, touch dry. And right now my painting's kind of at that stage where it's a little tacky. I prefer to work wet into wet. And if I can't work wet into wet, then I prefer to work on a dry dry painting. The tacky stage is about the worst time to work on a painting, generally speaking. If I wasn't if I didn't have to get this done by Saturday and I wasn't streaming, actually, even if I was streaming and I didn't have to get this done by Saturday, probably put this aside and grab one of my other paintings that I'm working on and finish that. Let this one dry and so on. There are all kinds of additives you can add to your paint to adjust the drying time. Um, and different pigments dry at different rates. So it's one of those things that is very challenging when you're new. But as you get to know your materials, it becomes second nature kind of thing. You just know roughly how long things take. You get a feel for it. You know, even though it's not a good time to paint on this, I can kind of overcome it because it's not, my painting is my paint is pretty thin, and um, it's not that tacky, so I can kind of overcome it with a little more oil. I'm a lot more tired than I realized. If anybody is watching this live or watching this, or anyone who's watching the VOD after the fact, you are welcome to, if you're live, you're welcome to jump into chat and ask questions if you have any, or talk about things. Uh, if you're watching the VOD, you're welcome to leave comments, questions, more than welcome to. I try to answer all of them. I'm not always the best, but I make an effort. Yeah, when you're doing actually any kind of painting exercise where you're severely limiting your palette and your range and so on, um, if what you're painting is outside of what that palette or that those limitations can do, then you got to be prepared to what's it called? Do a bunch of pushing and pulling and distortion of essentially reality. Because there's just no way. Like if you lack the color that you need, you just lack the color you need. In this instance, I don't actually lack any color practically, but what I'm lacking is well, the funny thing is I'm really not lacking much. It's more a constraint that is being applied. Uh, Welcome back, Des. You got a snack and you have two cats all over you. That's adorable. But yeah, my palette technically right now is a very, very versatile palette. But the constraint of high key is severely limiting my options. And then the low key part is going to do the same, just in the opposite direction, obviously. And my stomach is not happy with me right now. Uh, we ordered food from a new restaurant tonight, and it might be the last time I order from this restaurant because at the moment, yeah, very unhappy with me. Apparently, I've made very poor choices today because my stomach is just informing me of that. Excuse me. All right, okay? Unmuted. Whew, I severely underestimated how tired I was today. uh, One of the examples I give when painting um, high key or low key paintings is yellow and brown, because brown is just um, desaturated orange, right? Or sorry, dark orange. That's all brown is. Usually desaturated, but also just dark. That's all brown is. There's no, it's like saying, dark blue, right? That's all, that's all brown is. So it's a relative thing, right? So how do you make brown when you don't have any dark colors? It's very difficult. You don't really, you make a desaturated orange. And for yellow, you, there is no such thing as dark yellow. Like as soon as you go down a certain amount in the value range, it kind of you have to push it in one direction or another. There's no, it can't hold the saturation and go dark. So it either becomes a gray and desaturates, or it pushes into the green, or it pushes into the orange. That's, the options kind of thing. So how do you paint something yellow low key? That's where like all those challenges are, and that's where you end up like just pushing reality around a bit, um, and just changing things because there's no other option. I do think it's funny. This whole thing looks so light, but then when I go in with this like light blue color, suddenly it all looks kind of dark in comparison. This is one of those instances right now I'm painting wet into wet. And as soon as I put down a brush stroke, it starts mixing with the paint underneath. So I have to hold my brush a little different if I want to apply paint. I have to really load up my brush with a lot of paint, and I am limited to shorter strokes. Um, and after every single stroke, I basically have to wipe off my brush. That part wasn't wet, but here it is. And this is one of those things that is difficult to get a hang of. Um, but you do get it with time. It's just one of those things that you have to do it a few times to know. Like the reason I could do multiple strokes now, whereas before I couldn't, was because I'd already put down color. So now I'm doing multiple strokes on the wet color that's on top, but they're still very, very gentle. I'm barely touching the canvas uh, because I don't want to push the paint down basically and smudge everything. The other option too is I could have just wiped it off. And it's a very good option. I've done that many times. You just grab a wiping tool and wipe off the part that you want to go in with, and just, you know, easy. Hey, Sujan, welcome. How you doing? And once again, if that's not a good name for you, let me know. I apologize. How are you doing tonight? Or I guess for you, it's probably morning, if I remember correctly. I don't know where you live, but if I recall, you're on the other side of the planet somewhere. Yeah, I'm a little out of it today. I do apologize if I don't have much to say. Yeah, out of it. Recently revisited your old stock of water mixable oils. Um, in that you feel that titanium white feels chalky and not bright. Any experience with that? Hmm. In comparison to, so titanium white doesn't feel bright in comparison to like my screen. Um, you know, as far as that goes, yes. But it does feel bright on its own. Chalky, a lot of people complain about it being chalky when mixed with other paints because it's such a um, dominant color, and it's what's it called? And because of the coolness, a lot of people complain that it turns their mixtures chalky, and it does. You have to basically not rely on white to lighten your paint um, if it's making it chalky. But yeah, otherwise, your paint might have gone bad somehow. That's my only other thought. Because my titanium white always feels bright on its own. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Uh, Des says my black is very chalky and dry. What black are you using? So what with black, one of the reasons black often feels chalky um, and dry is because a lot of blacks uh, they have a tendency to sink when they dry. Um, a lot of earth tones have that tendency. Um, yeah. You're referring here to water mixable oils, actually. There's no real difference between water mixable oils and regular oils. I mean, there is a difference, but it's yeah. I have used water mixable oils, but I used a really cheap brand and cannot say anything good about them. You were using ivory black. Depending on the surface you're painting on, ivory black can sink, and that can make it feel kind of chalky and dry. Yeah. That's what I mean by it sinks. When it sinks, it loses its some of its saturations and it becomes more matte looking. So it becomes lighter, but it's a diffused light because it's matte. Um, yeah, that's what I'm referring to at least. That happens to a lot of earth tones, browns as well, like umbers and um, raw umber, burnt umber, raw sienna, burnt sienna, all those. They have all the earth pigments have a tendency for that, in my experience at least. I'm not the most experienced with earth tones though. Also, it depends on the surface you're painting on. I did paintings on Yupo paper, and that thing is non-absorbent. It just, it doesn't absorb anything. And so almost no colors would sink on that except for like my raw umber, basically. Mm. Does says, yeah, it's very dry looking, but it also seems thick and raised compared to the other paints, very matted. Yeah, so what's it called? The particles in the paint that make up the pigment in what's it called? In earth tones are actually physically larger than a lot of other pigments and paints. So it might actually just feel that way because it's got bigger chunks in it, essentially. You might have to thin it down a bit with more, either oil or a solvent. Yeah. Traditional oils are incompatible with water mixable. Sure, I realize. I realized late, but I might use them for plein air painting, easy with water. So depending on the paint, my understanding is most water mixable oil paints you can use with traditional oil paints. They just lose the water mixable aspect to them. That's my understanding. Because they don't come pre-mixed with water, right? So there's no water in them to begin with. They're just oil paints with they either have a detergent inside of them or they have a modified oil that that has, I think it's I forget what it's called, but the oil basically is open to bonding with water instead of rejecting water. That's essentially what the detergent does as well. It's just two different ways of going about it. If you mix it with regular oils, it just, you know, dilutes that that aspect to it, and it loses that ability, as far as I understand. There's also a company, I forget which one it is, that sells an oil that you mix with your regular oil paints, and it turns them into water mixable oil paints. My assumption is that it has that detergent in it, and so that's probably what it does. Having said that, for anyone who doesn't know, you're not supposed to use water with your water mixable oils. I know, sounds very counterintuitive. In theory, you're supposed to use water mixable oil paints like basically like any other oil paint, only you're supposed to limit your mediums to one specifically for it. And then the only time you're supposed to use water in your painting process is actually in the cleanup stage, and you're not supposed to use it in the painting at all. According to the companies, I'm not endorsing this or not, I don't know. I'm just, informing. Do you ever, Sujin asked, do you ever think of minimizing brush strokes? You mean subtracting and adding paint from the surface? You do too many alterations, maybe because I'm not sure first go. Okay. So this is a kind of a complicated question. I get what you're saying. It's a bit of a complicated question for numerous reasons. There are exercises where people like count their brush strokes and they try and reduce the amount of strokes that they use. That's a really cool exercise, super beneficial in a lot of ways. I highly recommend doing it, even though I don't do it. I want to. It's really good. Yeah, I need to you need to be aware that when you're painting, you can essentially, as you put paint down, you can subtract paint from the surface as well. And you do have to be careful with that because it has a tendency to make a mess. Basically, everything starts to kind of mix and you quickly end up with just a mess and kind of averaged out color, right? So you do have to be careful about that. Right now, it might look like I'm doing a lot of that. So to clarify something, my painting's kind of tacky at the moment. It's not 100% dry. It's not 100% wet. It's kind of in between. Different areas are at different degrees of like wet, right? So when I put down a brush stroke, sometimes it goes down no problem. Sometimes like it just catches and drags. So if you see me like kind of rubbing my paintbrush into it and stuff, that's usually what's happened, is that it basically is too tacky and my paint isn't being deposited. It's just grabbing the brush. But yes, I do. You do have to be careful with that. Mark Carter paints with minimum strokes. Sort of, right? Like that's not entirely true. He, you know, essentially, like I'll put it this way, you do want to use minimal strokes. Like the fewer strokes you can put down, kind of, you don't want to have any excess strokes essentially, right? But you know, excess is the right term, right? What that is will vary depending on the style you want. Sujan says, I love his style, but impossible for me. Not at all. First of all, that's great that you love his style. I would check out if you like Mark Carter's style, even though they don't paint exactly the same. Check out Arthur Gaines on Twitch. The reason I recommended Arthur Gaines is because even though, hey, Emalu, is that how you pronounce that? Emalu? No, I'm stupid. Emilio. Jeez. Good evening. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I'll address your question in just a second. First, I'm going to finish with Sujan real quick. Arthur Gaines, really, really fantastic painter. He also teaches, and he has some classes online, I think, or some instructional videos. Mark Carter is also really good. Like, I'm not equating the two. They're very different in feel. But I do think some of their brush handling is similar. So you might want to check it out. Painting like Mark Carter is not impossible for you at all. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not impossible. You can totally paint like him. He's very naturalistic, so you can definitely pull it off. The thing about minimal strokes is that it's not like, how can I put this? So the proof that Mark Carter doesn't paint with minimal strokes is the fact that he paints so naturalistic and smooth in a way, right? Because if you were to paint like really minimalistic strokes, you'd have big brushes, very clear marks as you put it down, because that's all you can put. So minimal is the minimum to achieve the look he needs, essentially, right? Like that's the idea. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. As you get better, you'll learn how to be more efficient with your painting. At a certain stage, you might have to consciously try and become more efficient with your painting, and you might have to do some exercises to try and reduce your strokes, improve your accuracy, all those things. But in the beginning, don't worry about it. You're going to go back and forth. You're going to start a painting. So if making a painting were a pyramid, right? Actually, not a pyramid. If it was a hill, and you're pushing the ball up a hill, right? And the painting is essentially the ball. You're trying to get it to the top of the hill. That's when it's finished, right? What's going to happen is when you're new, you're going to stop before you get there, or you're going to go past it and it's going to fall off. Like, you're going to go back and forth. You're going to try and take it to a finish, and you're going to take it too far and have to pull it back. And it's part of learning the process. Give it time. As you get better, all those things will come too. Um, Sujan says, I realized Mark Carter almost paints like a pastel artist. He pre-mixes all tones and hues, then he starts painting. Laura says, I'm too lazy for that, not organized. Yeah, he doesn't do that. When he, let me rephrase that. I doubt he does that when he paints for himself much. Like, I bet he does it a little, but the way he teaches to do things and the way he probably works are, I'm guessing, not identical. Let me put it that way. And Emilio, good evening. Yes, what am I painting? Okay, so this is a street scene. So you have one figure here who is like, quote unquote, the main figure, right? And then there's another one here, another here, and then a bunch of background people back there. And it's shop windows, right? And the exercise in this painting is threefold. It is a primary palette, so white, yellow, magenta, blue. No black. I'm not using my black. So I have to use only these four colors, right? To mix everything. And then it's a keyed painting. And the reason I said it's, I don't remember, threefold, four, whatever. I'm tired. It's a high key painting with a low key figure in the middle, which is going to be challenging to merge the two. Let's see. Okay, you guys are talking amongst yourselves a little. Yeah. So yeah, so that's what's happening in this painting. The originally the what's it called? The exercise was supposed to be a keyed painting, so just a high key, mid key, low key, one of those, whatever I chose. I decided to make my life harder. That I'm noticing is a kind of constant in my work. Yeah, that's all. That seems to be a very constant thing. Whenever I'm given like right now, I'm doing a homework for this class, and so whenever I get the homework, I'm like, okay, let's take this homework and make it harder. I'm gonna be so proud of myself when I make it to 10:30 tonight. I'm so tired. It is crazy. Laura says it seems to be catching. Don't try red cabbages. Yeah, probably won't try red cabbages, to be fair. Um, but that is a challenging exercise you chose, Laura, that's for sure. All right. Yeah, I'm just ridiculously tired. I did not think I was going to be this tired. I'm also slightly worried that I'm uh that I have food poisoning. Um, Nothing yet, but oh my God, my stomach is very, very unhappy with me right now. How many hours do I paint in a day? It just depends. Yeah, it just depends. a lot of times when I'm painting on stream, this is about all the time I paint. And like today, this is going to be the only time I paint today. I I do storyboards for TV animation. So I spend a lot of time drawing, you know. Um, and so then after work, that's why this is so late. After work, I paint, and then you know, if I'm up for it, I'll paint even more. But there's only so many, it's only so much you can do in a day, kind of thing. On the weekends, I can paint a little more, obviously. Maybe I need oral rehydration, a salt solution to hydrate, not just water. Well, yeah. I, First, I'd have to be drinking water. Sometimes tiredness is dehydration. Sure. Uh, Sometimes it's also, you know, 4.5 hours of sleep. I had planned to take it. I had planned to, what's it called? To nap during the day, but I forgot. Yeah. So yeah, so there's that. And then we ordered food from this restaurant that we never ordered food from before, and my stomach is just like nonstop rumbling. And I'm wondering if they did not adhere to my dietary preferences, um, which might be why my stomach's so unhappy. I'm not sure. Do you have a day job? I do have a day job. I do storyboards for the TV show Crapopolis. 4.5 hours, ridiculous, just go to bed. Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm not going to, but you're not wrong. I have a lot of sleep issues. I'll try and go to sleep early tonight, though. Uh, I'll try and make it to bed early so I get enough sleep. So I'm thinking 3 a.m. if I can. You need at least 7 hours sleep. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, I feel worse. Um, you know, but yeah. I'm going in for allergy shots tomorrow, so I have to wake up uh, early-ish. So I'll try and go to bed early. I've always had issues surrounding sleep, so we'll see. I have a friend, I'm so envious of them. This friend, he sleeps um 3 hours a night. That's it. 3 hours a night. Um, and he does that not like naturally on his own. Never a problem. Every once in a while, he'll crash for like a good 10 hours or something to kind of make up for it, I guess. So jealous of him. I wish I didn't have to sleep ever. Do you know deep sleep is best between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m.? It's science, not me. Uh, it is not science, in fact. You are mistaken. No offense, but you are mistaken. It is possibly for most people, but there are some people who have issues, and for them it's not. There's a what's it called? Sleep. What is the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Condition. I think it's delayed phase sleep syndrome, if I'm not mistaken, where your biological clock is shifted. It's about 30% of the population, roughly. Actually, technically speaking, it's about 60% of the population, but it only affects 30 in the direction towards the night. So about 30% of the population, roughly, are night owls. Biologically, like their biological clock is set that way, and it's much harder to change. About 30%, roughly, this is rough numbers. I'm not trying to claim accuracy here. But about another 30% are morning people, right? Those people who are like, oh my God, it's 9 p.m. I can't possibly stay up any later. Those people. And their biological clock is also harder to change. Everybody else kind of falls in between somewhere, and they're a little more, the tendency is to be more flexible. Just saying, generally speaking. Okay, I didn't know this. Yeah, well, understandable. I have the issue. This is why I've read up on it, right? Like, that's how that works. Yeah, I'm a total night owl. Like, built in, just like cannot change it. I've been on medication to try and change it. I've done a lot of things to try and like deal with it. It's very, very hard. And if you ever meet someone who's like habitual night owl and just cannot break out of that, understand that it's like hardwired in, and it is very, very challenging to change. And it is unbelievably disruptive to their lives, unfortunately, generally speaking. Trust me, I was in the military. The military are morning people. That was very challenging. Yeah, I even went to like a actually I've been to sleep specialists a few times for different things, but yeah. I am using, you can't see it, or maybe you can. Yeah, you can. This is oleo gel right here. But yeah, that's all the medium I'm using right now, is oleo gel. Oleo gel is, just in case you don't know or don't have access to it, it is a linseed oil gel. So it's basically a thicker version of linseed oil. It's not thick like honey, it's just a gel. If I wasn't using that, I'd be using walnut oil. I generally don't use solvents in my painting, for numerous reasons. One, my room is not ventilated enough to use solvents, and I have cats. Cats are more sensitive to what's it called? To fumes in general. They're more sensitive to fumes. Um, so yeah, so I don't really like solvents. I do use mediums, like I said, just mostly just oil. I really like walnut oil. I'm just not using it right now. Gams, Galkid is not Galkid. Oh my God. Oleogel is one of my favorite mediums as well. It's really good for painting on top of like paint that's dried a little. It's really good for that. And I do like it for what's it called? For oiling out when I come to when I'm working on a dry painting. You can oil out with walnut oil, but you have to be careful not to leave too much of it on the surface. But you can, and I have. But yeah, sorry if I got into the sleep stuff a little much. I do have the experience, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I'm definitely not sleeping enough, and it's not a good thing. I'm not, you should, I will say this, it is important to sleep enough, and it's very good for you. So I'm not a good role model for that. You're a big fan of walnut oil? I like walnut oil. Yeah. Only reason I'm not, this is how lazy I am. So this container right here, um, this is what I put my walnut oil in when I paint. And it got a little dirty. So I put some Gamsol in it and sealed and closed it. And then I forgot that I'd done that. So yesterday when I went to paint, I was like, oh, I have Gamsol instead of walnut oil. So I used a little bit of it, just a little bit for thinning down the paint when I, was drawing everything in. But now I just, I'm just using my, what's it called? Oleo gel because, it's easier to access a bit, basically. Yeah. And in case anyone doesn't have access to oleo gel, Gamblin makes a solvent-free gel that is very similar. So if you're, if you can't get one, but you really want it, maybe you can get that. But yeah, walnut oil is great. Actually, I don't know if this applies only to walnut oil. So, but one of the issues I've run into with walnut oil is that when you go to varnish, walnut oil has a tendency to dry so smooth, so sealed that you can't, when you go to varnish, the varnish just beads up on it. That is an issue I've run into. The solution to that issue is to very carefully and gently use a little bit of Gamsol to rub the areas that are what's it called? That the varnish is beating up on, and that should open it up a little, make it a little more porous for the varnish to grab onto. You want to be careful with that because you don't want to damage the painting, right? But yeah. that's roughly the solution. And I did not come up with that. I was told to do that by, oh my God. I'm not going to remember his name. Someone in the chat, basically. I can't remember his name right now. He has an art school. He's really good though. And he told me about that, and he was absolutely right. It worked like a charm. Have to go. Thanks all. Absolutely, no problem. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I'm taking this till 10:30, so another 13 minutes, and I'm logging off. I am so tired. I can just feel myself like it's a bad combination when it's like fatigue and also my stomach not feeling well. I usually don't have an issue with that for numerous reasons, but I don't, like I said, I'm not sure if they adhered to my dietary preferences and put stuff I'm sensitive to in the food or not, because I am not feeling great. Don't stay if you need to go rest. That's fine. I want to get this done for Saturday, and I'm like, I don't mind pushing myself a bit. It's fine. But I will go if I have to. Like I said, I'm not sure. My stomach might chill out after a bit. We'll see. I've not once, a few times, had like real food poisoning, like severe food poisoning. This isn't that. This is just a bit of an upset to me kind of thing. Yeah. Severe food poisoning is not fun. You've had it too? Yeah. I think most people in their lifetime are going to have it. Like it's one of those universal things. Sushi from our something place, not good. Hold on a second. Let's see. Sushi from our fave place. Not I couldn't see the fave part because of that stupid heart. Yeah. I hate that heart with a passion. I loathe whoever designed that and put that in there and made it so you can't move it. I can't, and if there's a way of getting rid of it, I don't know how to, and I hate it so much. There's a little heart in the chat that sits on top of the chat and just gets in the way of literally reading or interacting with chat sometimes. It's infuriating. Yeah. And spinach from Costco twice. Yes. My big one was we went to Vegas and we went to a very expensive, it was like a celebration thing, and we went to a very expensive restaurant. And we ate what uh what are they called? Um, Not shallots. They're the little oh, what are they called? It's seafood. It's like these little discs of seafood. I can't remember what they're called. Uh, violently, violently ill from that. Can't remember what they're called, but yeah. So like that was one of the few times I didn't make it. I didn't make it to the bathroom in time. Scallops. That's it. Yeah, that's in the hotel lobby. I couldn't keep it in, waiting for the waiting for the elevator. I didn't make it. You were at Costco today, and they have some nice metal shelves made from commercial kitchens on sale. You want one for your art supplies? Nice. But yeah, so the my understanding is the reason that people sometimes get food poisoning from spinach or oh, what's it called? Sometimes lettuce. There's like recalls on lettuce and so on. My understanding is it's because of they use either the fertilizer they use, or more often than not, it's actually runoff water from um, meat processing uh, that is adjacent. That is the cause of it. But yeah, scallops. That's what it was. Back when I ate scallops. I'm not one of those people who has like an iron stomach. I wish. Uh, but I'm not, I don't have like an overly sensitive stomach, I'd say. Yeah. So, before I end the stream, I will say that I stream Monday night and Wednesday night and Sunday day. So this is all Texas time or Central time, however you want to, you know, think about it. I will be back on Wednesday to work on this some more. Um, if anybody wants to participate in chat, you're more than welcome to swing by and hang out and talk live. And if that doesn't appeal to you or you can't, you're more than welcome to ask questions in the, I guess in the question area, whatever it's called on YouTube. Yeah. And you can join my Discord, all the social media stuff. People can ask questions there. I do not post on social media much. I will hopefully hopefully change that soon. I need to start posting again. I've just been so busy that, I haven't. Also, if anyone's an artist and you want to post, first of all, if you have any art questions, of course, like I said, you can ask. But if anybody's an artist and you post your stuff online, I highly recommend checking out Glaze and Nightshade from the University of Chicago. So you can process your images to protect them from AI learning and to poison the well, because why should they get to leech off of you without permission? So yeah, highly recommend checking those out. I have a lot of those links on my Twitter. You can find me there. So yeah. You sent me something on Instagram earlier. It's a reel, saw someone else's feed. Oh, awesome. I'll check it out. Thank you, Des. I appreciate it. Yeah, my Discord, there should be a link. It should work. If it doesn't work, let me know. I will update it. But yeah, there should link, and all my other socials and everything are, in the description. All the common things. Honestly, I'm the easiest person to find online. So, everybody should be able to find me pretty easily. All right. But yeah, I'm going to be calling it a night. So a little slow today because circumstances, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the progress. It is hard. What's it called? This is very subtle painting right now. It's very challenging, but very subtle. Here's a bit of a can zoom in a little if you want to see a little bit closer. Yeah, I haven't put in any details into the people. I will put in some, but it will be very limited. The people in the background, even though this character is in the foreground, are not the focus. That's why they're all like washed out. That's kind of the idea. So yeah. So Wednesday we'll be focusing on her, which will be fun and challenging. Anyways, have a good one. Lauren says, have a good one. See you Wednesday. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for stopping by. Sorry if I was out of it and rambling and just low energy and all that. Hopefully Wednesday's better. But yeah, have a good one and see you around. Bye.